We're here today with William Bill Donoghue. Goes way back in the town of Webster, and we'll be interviewing him. My name is Michael Delaurier, and behind the camera is Dave Ilaria. Okay, so, Bill, the first thing I'm going to do is embarrass you, I hope. This is a 1960 yearbook, and there's a thing in it that says senior class statistics, and it says William Donoghue, and your nickname is Bill, and your ambition, it says, is absolutely none. And your
Well, that turned out well.
Your weakness is tight slacks, and your favorite saying is censored. Do you agree with that or not?
Doesn't sound like me.
I know, but I'm just saying it's in print.
Okay.
No.
I know you wouldn't lie to me, Mike.
No, I would never lie to you. So we will start off with your age and where you were born.
Okay, I'm 84. I was born at CMG in Lewiston in 1942.
And where in Sabattus did you live? These
Well,
are
it was
questions
called Pleasant Street when I lived there. Now it's Hemlock.
that is correct. The other thing would be, we'll go in with the schooling. So, and there's always a big question with the when people went to high school and when they did their grammar school. So, where did you do your grammar school?
Well, I started out at 3 or 4 years old. We lived right in back of the Green Street School, which was kindergarten and first grade, just a one-room school. And if I was outside playing, when the kids had recess, I'd go down and play with them. And when the bell rang and they went back to class, I would sometimes go in and join them until the teacher saw me coming and she said, "Bill, you got to go home. You're not in school yet." So I'd go home, and once in a while when Horace Atwood would bring the morning milk for the kids, I'd follow Horace in. I thought school was pretty neat at 3, but when I got there in 5, it wasn't quite so pleasurable.
And right after that, then after you there, you went right down to the what's called high school.
Yes.
Yeah. So you did started down there like second grade.
Second and third was Thelda Dobbins, and fourth and fifth was Lucy Vedetto. And then the 6th grade, they built the new school. So we went 6th grade to the new school and then back to the high school for 7 through 12.
So, so let me see, in 1953 they built the new school. I know it was the first year I went to school, so I guess we went there at the same time, you and I, somehow.
Yeah, probably. A couple of years difference.
All right. What was life like growing up in the village of Sabattus? Let's say up until your age of about 11. You know, when you was just a rugrat.
Yeah. I loved living in Sabattus. Everybody was friendly. I don't think I got in too much trouble those years. And but I had asthma at the age of 2, so that kept me out of school quite a bit. And the teachers would bring homework to my mom, and she'd see that I got it done, and that's how I managed to stay in my class. But it was a great town.
And what would have been some of the background, just very, very briefly, of your mom and dad?
Well, Dad worked at the woolen mill, and
that would be Dina Woolen on Main Street.
Yeah, he was the boss in the finishing department, and Mom was a stay-at-home mom. Because I was sick a lot, so she really couldn't work out of the home. And after I got better, she did work at the woolen mill for a few months, and then came back home when I got sick again. So that's about it.
Yeah. So, do you have any most of your memories as you got older? Because the next question is going to be, we went with this one, like what, for instance, I mean, if you were out playing at 10 years old, let's say, what could you do? What did you have? I already know the answer. It's pretty much making your own fun, but
Yeah.
it's almost like talking to myself when I'm talking to you. But and you can work in what we have for another question here, which just is, what did you do during your teen years, of course, high school years, type of thing. So, anything
Well,
special
high school
jump
years, Herb Dobbins and Bob Walker and I were on the Sabattus Fire Department. So we got to leave school once in a while when there was a fire during the day. And that was interesting. But I remember we come back from a fire one morning, and we went into Cushman's to get something to eat, and the principal caught us and said, I don't mind you guys going to a fire, but when you get done, you're supposed to come back to school. I said, well, we'll come back. So we did.
Yeah. So did you spend a lot of time at Cushman's?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, and people ask me about Cushman's. I always say, I think of Happy Days television show, about what it was. Do you want to explain to the people a little about that? Because I know everybody asks me about Cushman's.
Yeah. The biggest thing I remember about Cushman's is, like I said, I had asthma as a kid. And so I was leaning. You remember when you walked in the door, there was a soda cooler right there with a flip top. And I was leaning against that, and I thought, well, I'm going to light up a cigarette. So I did. And up until that point, I never inhaled. I'd just puff on it because I knew it wasn't good for me. But for some reason, I took a big puff, inhaled, and I passed out. Went down on the floor. First thing I remembered when I woke up was there was a couple of girls kneeling over me, slapping me on the face, saying, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I said, "I think so, but I'm not sure." But I gave up smoking that day.
That'll do it, I would suppose. Maybe one of those girls slapping you on the face is what, Rochelle Phelan?
Could be. I don't remember.
I remember
it was a pretty face, but that's all I remember.
There you go. You got it down pat. So you didn't, like when I said your high school years, but I know that you did a lot with the drama club. You was on the basketball team.
No. Never in good enough shape to play basketball.
Okay. I guess it wasn't your picture I saw. I tried to do a little research here, but no. But you were involved in a lot. Like like with the yearbook and all that sort of things. You know, he was involved. So you
wrote a couple of stories for the yearbook and a poem.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so you
I
did
enjoyed
quite a bit.
that.
Yeah.
So.
I actually never knew you had such a problem with asthma, but I wasn't very big. You're quite a lot older than me, but 6 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, so while you would like, for instance, one of the big events during your lifetime would have been the Second World War. Did you have much knowledge in your head, being a very young age, about the Second World War? Is there anything you remember, or any other major events that happened that sort of stick with you, from that
I remember
era?
there was a newscast. I think his name was Gabriel Heater. And he would come on, I don't know, around 5 or 6 o'clock on the national news. And he used to scare me with the stories that he'd tell about happenings in the war. So I tried to get away from the radio when he'd come on. But other than that, it was just home life. And, you know, I knew there was a lot of guys from Sabattus that were in the war, but, you know.
Well, you weren't very old. I mean, you know.
No.
You know,
No.
You were quite young. So when did you leave Sabattus?
I left Sabattus in 62.
Okay, and
when I got married. We moved to Hogan Road in Lewiston. Yeah.
You want to mention your wife, where'd you meet her, and
Yeah.
her name?
Excuse me. Her name was Kathleen. Everybody called her Kathy. But she actually went to school with me for about a month while she was living with her Aunt Ruth Clifford out on Pleasant Ridge Road. And I don't ever remember her. And I remember Roger Blyer was chasing her pretty hard. And when her home life became bearable again, she went back to live with her dad and brother and sister. But Bob Walker and Jerry Connors and I were just hanging around on a Sunday night. We had Jerry's father's car, and we stopped at a traffic light on the corner of East Avenue in Sabattus. And I looked across the street, and Luella Clifford and Kathy Ramsey and two guys were coming out of the ice cream shop there. And I said, well, let's go over and see the girls. So we pulled over and started talking with them. And we asked them what they were doing, and they said, well, we're going over to Marston's Corner Baptist Church to make arrangements for a youth get-together. And we said, well, we'll give you a ride over to Marston's Corner. And so they said, yeah, okay. So they dumped those two guys and got in with us. We took them there and took them back home. And the next Sunday night, I said, maybe I'll go to Second Baptist Church in Lewiston and meet Kathy when church is over. So I sat out in front of the church for a while, and the church members come out. She come out and come over and talk to me. And I thought, well, that was pretty nice. And her sister said, come on, Kathy, it's time to go home. So I thought that was pretty nice. So the next Sunday night, I did the same thing. And I did that for quite a few Sunday nights. And then Pastor Lombardi come out, introduced himself, and asked me my name. And I says, it's Donoghue. And he thought I said that my first name was Donnie and my last name was Hugh. So he called me Donnie for about 6 or 8 months. But he invited me to come into church instead of sitting out in my car. So I said, well, I might as well. So I started going to the young people's and then the evening service. And, you know, that's how Kathy and I got together.
That's how it came about, huh?
Yeah.
Just off the top of your head, I'm sure maybe we should have told you this. Do you just have a couple quick stories about growing up in town?
Oh.
Because you started mentioning some names of the guys you chummed around with. And,
Yeah.
You know, Jerry, and I know all of them pretty well. I'm sure you guys must have done something. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Well, because my sickness when I was young, I kind of didn't get so involved as some of the other guys in day-by-day activities, but I guess I don't remember much. I remember once I was down at Gardner's store the day after Halloween, and a gentleman came in and he said, oh boy, he said, those guys had a good time last night. he says, there's a wagon down in the river. And somebody says, well, whose is it? He says, you know, I think that's my wagon. He wasn't upset until he figured out that it was his wagon that was out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right about in between, like with Johnny Walker and stuff. And that when I was speaking with him, what got me is I'm just below you guys, but I don't remember the horses and wagons. But you guys still remember when that was,
Yeah.
transportation or for hauling goods and stuff. And they used to deliver groceries at. So let me ask you, and I just have a strange opinion here that you're going to have a really, really good answer for this. What is the most important lesson you learned in life?
Oh, wow. I guess it was the fact that after much coaching from Kathy, I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Savior at the old East Auburn Baptist Church one Saturday night. And my life hasn't been the same since. I joined the church, got baptized. Then we changed the name to South Lewiston Baptist, built a new building. But, that's the main focus in my life today, is serving the Lord. It's been great.
See, I knew you'd have a good one. I just knew you'd have a good one. Well, thank you so much for the interview.
Oh, you're very welcome.
If there's
Enjoyed
anything
it.
else you wanted to add, but I'm sorry I insulted you at the very beginning of it reading that, but I thought
Oh, that's all right.
I thought that sounds like
I signed up for that, so I had to
always
live with it.
I always remember